Just make sure it's in focus. Okay, well, I'm going to try this one more time. The answers. So it's been about a year and a half since I attained what I now understand to be enlightenment, or at least a form of enlightenment. And I have come to understand, after all this time, what is going on, what happened, what happened is I had been asking questions all of my life. Why things are the way they are, why people treat wolves the way they treat wolves, and why people treat me the way I'm treated, are the two big questions I was asking. But there were lots of other questions. Why this, why that? I just could never find answers. Well, I thought I had answers, but I couldn't verify it. And actually what happened was I was watching Zeitgeist Moving Forward, saw Jacques Fresco's input into the show, which basically the whole movement is basically originates from him. He presented, through Peter Joseph presented much of the same that I had found on my own. So here is someone who went out on his own to discover what was going on with humanity, and he discovered the same things I had, and I was in significant doubt because I had come to these conclusions on my own, and I couldn't independently verify what they were. So that's what happened. I've come to understand what I know about society and what I've learned about society through my studying intensely, basically since I was a kid. Anyway, I started off life being bullied in elementary school because I was smarter than everyone else. Apparently, that's what they thought. I was more intellectually gifted, and therefore my gifts were addressed by my teachers and by students. So I sought to become the best person I could be. I became a perfectionist, I guess you could say. I wanted to, I was picked on. There was something wrong with me, obviously, so I wanted to fix it and become as good of a person for society as I could. The thing here is that I didn't ask anybody, what is the best person society wants me to be? I mean, that's obviously not a question I can just go around and ask. What's the best person I could be? I'd like to do that. No, I couldn't answer that. I couldn't ask that question, so I had to answer it on my own. So I studied, what is the best way to be for society's purposes? And essentially what I was doing was training myself to be at Universal Ethics. And I attained that long ago. I just didn't realize it until March 3rd last year, March 2nd last year. To March 2012, enlightenment, yay. But anyway, so what I have come to understand is includes what is wrong with society, because I understand how society should function. I understand what makes a society function. I understand what makes a person a best contributor to society. Because I studied this on my own. Again, I didn't ask what you wanted. I asked what should be, from the universal perspective. And because I know what society should be like, because I know, what's the ideal person for society, I know what's wrong. I know where the deficit is between where people should be and where they are. And it's significant, and it's not your fault. So, what's wrong with America's society? What's wrong with basically global industrialized society is that we are using propaganda, psychology, to quote-unquote educate ourselves. But we are quote-unquote educating ourselves with bullshit, basically. The television, the radio, media, all that stuff is significantly more powerful of an influence on our minds than we will admit. It is massive. I mean, it shapes our worldview. It shapes our society. Everything. Our society is defined by advertising. To quote a line from Fight Club, advertising has us chasing cars we don't, has us working jobs we don't want so we can buy shit we don't need. That's exactly what's going on. We are not like this. We are being heavily influenced. And how we are being influenced with this propaganda, how it works, is it uses our emotions. Now, our emotions are tied to our instinct. Instinct is a primitive aspect of our mental development, of our brains, basically. So these emotions, which this propaganda, this advertising, appeals to our emotion, and our emotion drives us to make decisions because it's instinct. We have to override that with logic and intellect, and that requires taking the time. It requires the effort of thinking, and we have been trained not to. We have been trained to take everything for granted. We have been given all these conveniences. We have been spoiled by all these luxuries, all these conveniences, physical and mental. Mental convenience meaning you don't have to think about anything anymore, and that's where we're at. So these conveniences have spoiled us. We no longer think for ourselves. We no longer act for ourselves. We've even got to the point where we make machines to do our thinking for us rather than the work for us. We are lazy, but we are mentally lazy. We aren't physically lazy. We are mentally lazy. Okay, so many of us are physically lazy. We are also addicted. Emotions lead to addictive behaviors if they're not understood. And we are addicted to everything. Oil, coffee, sugar, And here's the thing. Sugar is a key part of this. Sugar is a key part of the downfall of Western civilization, to be honest. Sugar is a substance that creates an emotional response. There is no such thing as sweet flavor. There is only an emotional cascade that leads to an emotional response. So sugar can control you. But when I say control, it's like a dog on a leash. You can tug the dog along, but you can't make the dog do something. The dog has to want to do something. And the leash is how you get that dog to do something. It's the influence, and that's what our emotions are. It's that leash, that influence that someone else is tugging on and saying, buy this, buy this, buy this. Think that, think that, think that. That's what's going on. So how do we fix it? Well, we need to be taught moral reasoning. We need to eliminate the outside, the adverse influence, and there are two ways to do that. I've said this before. One is to outlaw, or to recognize that it is not legal. It is not legal to advertise. Persuasive advertising is not legal. And here's how. Because propaganda, when designed to deceive, is not protectable speech. And what I mean by that is, let me make sure how much time I have. What I mean by that is propaganda is anything which propagates a message to a broad audience. So it's any broadcast, any media. When designed. Designed means someone or some people sit down and design this propaganda to influence people's minds through their emotion. Deceive, I don't think I have to tell you what deceive means. So when people get together and create this this propaganda, this advertising, whatever it is that influences people, when they sit down and design it, and they design it to deceive them, there is no way that's predictable speech. There is no way. You cannot help being influenced by propaganda. So you cannot control. You cannot say, no, I cannot resist. I can resist this. And so fine, the advertisers can put all that stuff in front of me all they want. I can resist it. No, you can't. You can resist it to an extent. You can resist branding, but you cannot resist the underlying temptations. You are addicted to sugar. You are addicted to food. You are addicted to the American diet. For example, you are addicted to the American activities, the hobbies, the pursuits, the junk that we buy. You're all addicted to it. So you cannot help it. You have been driven to addiction by advertising. Excuse me, gas bubble. God. Okay, so how do we fix it? Like I said, we got to eliminate the advertising. The first way, like I said, is to argue to the Supreme Court that propaganda, when designed to deceive, is not protectable speech. The second way is to get the psychologists who have responsibility for what's wrong with America, by the way. It's not their fault, it's their responsibility. I'm just trying to communicate to them that they have this responsibility and that they alone can solve what's wrong with the world. So we get psychologists to lobby to outlaw the practice of psychology without a license. If you can get a law into place that outlaws the practice of psychology without a license, all advertising becomes illegal. All persuasive advertising becomes instantly illegal because it is the practice of psychology. Look at the curriculum of any advertising degree at any major college. Included in the first prerequisites are psychology courses. Now, if psychology courses are prerequisites, what does that mean? That means that they are teaching psychology. That means the entirety of the curriculum is psychology. That means the discipline of advertising and persuasive advertising is psychology. You see psychologists every minute of every day, and they're influencing your mind. They're called advertisers. So that is what's wrong. And what has this done is by appealing to our emotions, by appealing to these addictive behaviors, by making us mentally lazy, we have regressed in something called moral reasoning. Now, moral reasoning is simply reasoning, but with the human touch, basically. Logic is how we make decisions. We want to make the best decision we can, so we use logic, but we temper that with the human element. An example is they give this test. They say this to potential psychopaths and to see if they are psychopaths. And what they're looking for is empathy. A psychopath is a person without a sense of empathy. They have no sense of the consequences of their actions on someone else. They have no sense of other human beings even existing and having needs. They only see themselves, everyone else, as an object. And this is exemplified by the test they give. They give this as a little brain teaser, and I'm going to shorten it significantly. Basically, it's this. A woman attends a family funeral, meets a guy, falls head over heels in love with him, but does not get his contact number for whatever reason. 3 weeks later, she's arrested for killing her sister. Why? Now, most people would answer, oh, well, the sister must have gotten the guy's number or whatever and started dating him and she killed him. Well, that's the human element, because why would she just kill the sister? But a psychopath, who does not reason with the human element, who does not reason morally because of this lack of empathy, does not see humans as anything other than objects. So when they reason, the woman attended a funeral, a family member's funeral, because they take in all the important information. They're smart, most of them. So they take in the important information, which is that a woman attended a funeral, a family member's funeral, and met this guy, fell head over heels in love, forgot to get his number. Okay, so she met him at a family member's funeral. She's arrested 3 weeks later for killing her sister. Oh, okay, so she killed her sister to create another family member funeral so that he would attend, because logically, if he's at one family member funeral, he would be at another's. Logically, the thing she should have done then is to kill her sister or another family member to get her to get this guy to attend another family member's funeral so she could meet him. And they don't see a problem with this. They really honestly do not see any issue with killing the sister, other than it may be illegal. If they have any sense of reasoning, I wouldn't call it moral reason. I think it's more like recognition of the law, restricted reasoning by external forces. But they wouldn't actually kill the sister, most of them, but they would imagine that it was possible. And there's a switch inside the mind of a psychopath that, if turned off or on, then they become serial killers, actually. The movie The Beast, with a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful performance by that female actress. I regret recalling her name, but my God, she was brilliant in that movie. Thank you for your performance. But anyway, that movie, The Beast, actually chronicles the creation of a serial killer from a mere psychopath. She sees that killing is possible. She gets away with it. It's an option. It's no longer something restricted externally. She becomes a serial killer. Killing serves her needs. She is a psychopath. She was created. Psychopaths are all created by their upbringing. And unfortunately, it's a violent upbringing that causes it, and we are seeing more and more of that. So we have a society that is controlled by psychopaths. We have a society that was actually created by psychopaths. because psychopaths are who gave us capitalism. And that is the real core problem. We cannot fix our society while we have capitalism as our economy. Capitalism is the other side of the coin. It is the creator of all the evils. I hate to say it. There are alternatives, okay? And we have to understand what capitalism is. Capitalism is strictly nothing but the idea that a society gives over its resources to its most greedy to control. Now, the actual definition is that the capitalism is private control of the means of production, and that's all fine and good. But what does the means of production mean? It means meeting society's needs. So we have placed meeting society's needs in the hands of private individuals who are motivated by profit. In other words, we have trusted our society to greed. There's no two ways about it. And who are the greediest people? Psychopaths. So our society is being run by psychopaths, and it is now fostering the development of more psychopaths. Psychopaths are not humans. So how do we fix this? Well, I've got my own solution that I'm working on. It's actually already in place. It's called the Zombie Apocalypse Diaries. And basically what I do is I say that this problem of psychopathy I'm calling zombie virus. And by presenting it as a zombie virus, the idea is to get people to watch it. To get it, it's a zombie theme, so it's going to be popular. So, rather, I'm not, but I'm hoping that the theme will propel the thing into some kind of popularity. But what it does is it trains people how to think. It trains people how to reason morally once again. How to reason and how to reason morally. It retrains them to think for themselves, which is, they're victims of this psychopathy. They're victims of this society, and they've been spoiled so much they don't think anymore. They don't think for themselves. They're just machines, basically. They parrot, they react, they don't think. They don't understand anything about society or their lives, most of them. So this teaches people how to think independently, teaches them to recognize what's going on, and offers a cure for psychopathy, for the zombie virus. And I really honestly believe psychopathy can be cured. I am probably the only person on the planet with any training in what psychology, or what the psychology of psychopathy is, that understands that it can be cured. Because it can be compensated for there can be compensation for the fact that there is no moral reasoning by teaching universal ethics, which forces an intellectual consideration rather than emotional consideration of other humans. So it can be resolved. And I just realized I may be an example. No, that's impossible. I do have empathy. I cry like a motherfucker in sad movies or when people are hurt and whatnot. So no, I know I'm not a psychopath. I was raised by a psychopath to be a psychopath, but escaped the pathology somehow. Probably because I went in and witnessed my mother and my stepmother after my father had beaten the shit out of them. Asshole. Yeah. Rest in torment, motherfucker. Excuse me. I do hate my father. Molested my sister from ages 3 to 16. Don't tell me I'm not right to hate him. But anyway. Oh, and hate is not a bad thing. It's an emotion born of passion, therefore it cannot be bad. Let's check how much time I have. Excuse me. So, anyway, that's just about out of time, so I hope that better explains things. I know it's been a while. It's been damn near, it's been 18 months, almost to the day that this happened. That I came to understand all this and how to fix things for all of humanity. I'm not suggesting that I am the only one that can fix it. That is not what I am suggesting. I am suggesting that we eliminate the propaganda and start teaching people, and we start using psychology to teach people. We use propaganda for good. We keep the media infrastructure in place, but change the medium, change the media, change the product. And all we have to do is recognize the effects of what we do and admit them and compensate and adjust and just stop brainwashing each other. That's all we have to do. And the biggest thing of all, this is my biggest pet peeve, is lies. Deceit. Any kind of lies and deceit. It has to stop. as I mentioned, I